So let's write some actual code now. So I'm just going to start with a clean slate. I'll break some of these connections and I'll open up my assistant editor and make sure I'm on the right. Yep. And I'm just going to delete all this code so we can start kind of clean. So I have a label called my label right here. I have a button right here, and I'm just going to connect those to my code. I like to do this a couple times at the beginning. In future videos, I'm just going to start hopping into it a little faster, but want to make sure you have these connections down. So I'm just going to right-click, drag. We're going to insert an outlet called my label, and let's insert an action from this button as well, and we'll call it button pressed. All right, so we have two pieces of code now. We have this, which is just declaring a simple variable called myLabel, and that variable is of the type UILabel. Then we've declared a simple function called buttonPressed, and what this is saying is when the button's pressed, execute the code between this brace and this brace. I'm going to hit return a couple times to give myself some lines. And let's write our first piece of code. So I'm going to type in the word myLabel, and you'll see it automatically starts filling it in. Let Swift, let Xcode do the work for you. I'm going to hit return, so my label, and then I'm going to hit dot or period. And whenever I do that, a bunch of things are going to come up. I'm going to start typing in text, and it says string question mark. I'll hit return. And what this is now saying, I'm going to ignore any errors that appear. This is totally fine. I don't care about that. I haven't finished typing the line, so I just need to pay attention to this. So it says mylabel.text. This is called dot syntax, and what that basically means is you can think of it as like inside. So we're going from my label, a variable called my label. Inside that, inside my label, find text. I'm going to make this a little bit larger so it's easier to see. So inside the variable my label, find a property or an attribute called text. All right? I'm going to hit equals, and this dot text is asking for a string. Remember it said string question mark? It's asking for a string, so I'm going to do quotes, and I'll say text has changed. All right? And if I'm ever questioning what this is asking for, what these different pieces are, if I hold down Option, my mouse changes to the little target guy, and I can click that text, or I can click the my label, and it can tell me exactly what these different pieces are. So if I click the text while I'm holding down Option, it says current text that is being displayed by the label. All right, very simple to understand. Well, the text that's being displayed right now is my label, and whenever we hit the button, it's going to change that to say text has changed. This property is nil by default. Assigning a new property replaces the value. It's asking for a string. Okay, it's a variable called text. It's asking for a string. So we need to give it a string in response. So if I give it something like this, 10, an integer, that's not going to work, right? It's going to say cannot assign value of type integer to type string. The question mark, by the way, means optional. We're going to get into optionals a little bit later. So it's saying, yeah, this isn't going to work. But if I put quotes around it, now it's going to work because that's a string, right? We all remember that from the string textbook. So I'll just say text has changed, button pressed. And this is going to be way too long for this label, but we'll play with that a little bit later. So I'm just going to build it and hit the play button. There we go. If I hit the button, text, and it's getting cut off. Let's make that a little bit larger. It doesn't like, by the way, whenever you close simulator without hitting stop first. That's what that error was that just appeared. Let's kill both of these for now. We'll make it much larger just for fun. So I'll hit play to run my code. Awesome. All right, let's hit stop. This has gotten messed up. Let me switch it back to our view controller. All right, so text has changed. This is great. It's working perfectly now. Let's add a little bit more complexity to this. So I'm going to add a text field. Type in text fields. A text field is an editable block of text, right? It's where you can type in usernames, passwords, things like that. So I have round style text field, I have my label, and I have my button. I'm going to click on my text field, and let's just go ahead and connect it again. And we'll connect it as an outlet, not as an action, as an outlet. And I'm going to call it my text field. All right, so now I have two outlets. I have an outlet that is called my label, and it's of the type UI label. I have an outlet called my text field, and it's of the type UI text field. And then I have this function that's just kind of playing around right now. I'm going to, this is a little quiz, I'm going to comment out this line, which will be //. So that just is going to hide that line for now, so the computer's not going to run that line, and everything's good. So here's what I want to do with this application. I want to take the user's text that they input into this text field, and whenever I press the button, I want that text to replace the label text up here. Okay? Sounds a little complicated, but we're going to use the things that we already know, and we're going to play with this. So the first thing I'm going to do is type in my text field. I'll hit return dot text. Okay? And what this is saying is I'm just showing you that I can access this property, is that I can access the text field's text property. Okay? So we want that. This is going to look a little weird because of the size of the interface. Remember before we did mylabel.text and we had it equal to, some string, right? Instead, we're going to set it equal to my text field.text. All right, so we're going to take the mylabel.text equal sign means set equal to my text field.text. All right, let's hit play and see if it works. So here's my text field. I'm going to tap in there, and I can just type with my keyboard, but if I want to see the software keyboard, I can go up to the hardware button, go to keyboard, and say toggle software keyboard. Command K also does the same thing. So I'll type in some text, and I'll hit my button. And look at that. So what it did here was it took whatever text I had in this, and whenever I hit the button, it sets the label to be the same as the text found over here. Really simple application. Now we could expand upon this. We could add a bunch of different things. We could also do some bug fixing. For example, what happens whenever there's nothing in here? Well, it goes to nothing, but maybe I want some default text to appear. What happens whenever, do we want this to clear out whenever we hit the button? These are all different things that we could play around with. I want to let you have some time to explore, so I'm going to end this video here, but we've just built our first really simple application with an input and an output.